وقلبي كليم وعيني صارت كفي السقاء. أئن طويلا وما من دواء فقومي صاروا كما الببغاء. لساني سليم وقلبي كليم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم. أما بعد, and welcome back to our next video on the history of Palestine and Masjid al-Aqsa. And it's only going to be a 10-minute video, so don't worry, we're not going to drag on for too long. So we discussed in the last session that Adam alayhi salam seems to be the person, according to most scholars, who designated a piece of land for the worship of Allah, and that land is referred to as Masjid al-Aqsa. So what is the area that Adam alayhi salam designated for the worship of Allah, i.e. what are the boundaries of Masjid al-Aqsa? Where does Masjid al-Aqsa start from and where does it end? Now, contrary to popular belief, this entire compound that we're going to have a look at is actually what Adam alayhi salam designated as Masjid al-Aqsa. And this links back to the previous session. If you remember, we said masjid is a land. It is not a building. It doesn't need to be a building. So this whole area is Masjid al-Aqsa. So if someone asks me where's Masjid al-Aqsa, in fact, even if you look on Wikipedia for Masjid al-Aqsa, they'll only show you this masjid here, which is the Masjid al-Qibli. That is not the only part of Masjid al-Aqsa. Some people will look at this mosque and they will say this is Dome of the Rock. It's not Masjid al-Aqsa. Whereas that's not true. This whole compound, according to the understanding of Muslim scholars, this entire compound is going to be considered Masjid al-Aqsa. So these trees and this whole area here is masjid, is part of that sacred masjid. Imagine this entire thing being a masjid, because masjid is a land, it's not a building. And that is why when we look at this, we must understand this to mean that the entire compound is the masjid, and it's not one particular masjid. It's not Masjid al-Qibli or Dome of the Rock. They're all just part of Masjid al-Aqsa. I want to have a look at why is Masjid al-Aqsa special. A masjid gains speciality depending upon the person who has designated the land for the worship of Allah. That's why sometimes we call scholars to lay the first brick. If you remember, in certain masjids, what they do is that as they are building the masjid, they will call someone, a pious scholar, to come and lay the first brick, so that it becomes a sense of, you could say, piety and sense of blessings for that masjid, and it becomes a very notable masjid that the first brick was laid by so-and-so pious scholar. With Masjid al-Haram and Masjid al-Aqsa, the land was designated by Allah the Almighty, and then it was built by Adam alayhi salam, and then many more prophets who came after Adam alayhi salam. As for Adam alayhi salam, did he actually build a building, or did he just designate the land on behalf of the Almighty himself? We don't have clear indications, but he could have built a building, or he might not have built a building and just designated the land. Allah knows best, but he definitely designated the land for the worship of Allah as a minimum. He may have built a building as well. Thus, this piece of land, this land here, guys, this whole land is as beloved and as precious and as blessed for us as you could say the Kaaba and Masjid al-Nabawi, i.e. it's just third in line. It is the masjid of our prophets before our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And a real question that I would like to ask yourself is, how would you feel for just a second if you close your eyes and imagine the Kaaba? You can't travel to Umrah this year. You can't travel for Hajj this year. Unfortunately, na'udhu billah, the Kaaba has been taken over by non-Muslims, or it has been taken over by people who are not following the religious faith of Islam, and basically no Muslims are allowed to go there now, or it's going to be heavily checked. You're going to be under heavy scrutiny every time you go there. It's going to be very difficult for you to get in, and it's going to be very, very difficult for you to perform your rituals as well. How would you feel? Imagine the same were to be applied to Masjid al-Nabawi. How would you feel? Just close your eyes for a second and imagine the whole Masjid al-Nabawi has been taken over by non-Muslims or people who do not follow the religious faith of Islam. Essentially, it's not in the control of Muslims anymore. How would we feel? And that is exactly the type of feeling that we should be getting with regards to Masjid al-Aqsa and it not being used for the worship of Allah the Almighty, which is what the prophets had designated it for. So now we come to another piece of land that is very, very important that I want to talk about. And this is something that is often referred to in the ahadith of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as Al-Sham. So what is Sham? Now, there is a book that I want you to kind of look at, and this is where these maps have been taken from, and I think this book is a fantastic book, and we do hope to make an introduction video on it if we get time, inshallah. But it's called Mapping Islamic Jerusalem, and Islamic Jerusalem is the name given to Bayt al-Maqdis, and we're going to come to what is Bayt al-Maqdis. And this book has been written by Dr. Khalid al-Awasi, and he's got a speciality in researching the, you could say, boundaries of Bayt al-Maqdis. And this book is an absolutely fantastic, easy read, by the way. It's not difficult to read, and inshallah in our introduction video I'll explain to you how it works. It's so easy and you will really enjoy this book. He actually goes into the history of Bayt al-Maqdis quite a bit as well. So back to the land of Sham. So we've got this whole area is called ancient Sham. So whenever the Prophet ﷺ speaks about the virtues of Sham, all of this essentially comes within it. So you can see a little bit of southern Turkey also comes within it. You got like half or like just a quarter of Syria, entirety of Lebanon, half of Jordan, the entirety of Palestine, which is there. And you even got the Sinai Peninsula from Egypt also coming in. So this whole area is referred to as Sham. Now, if you notice, the Quran regularly speaks about Bayt al-Maqdis, and then it says that there is a land there that al-ardu allati barakna fiha. Baraka is used constantly as a reference to certain pieces of land, and this piece of land is referred to as the land of Barakah. Now, a number of Mufassirun, the scholars who write upon the tafsir of the Quran, have said Sham is the land of Barakah. So this whole area is what Allah the Almighty means when He says Subhanalladhi Asra, glorified is that being who took His servant Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to Masjid al-Aqsa alladhi barakna hawlahu, that which we have put barakah around it. So what is the land of Barakah? Allah the Almighty speaks about how Ibrahim alayhi salam and Lut alayhi salam traveled from Iraq, and we're going to come to that later, from Iraq all the way to the land of Barakah. وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ وَلُوطًا إِلَى الْأَرْضِ الَّتِي بَارَكْنَا فِيهَا. We saved Ibrahim and Lut alayhi salam towards that land in which we have placed Barakah. So most Mufassirun have actually just said it is Sham, this whole area, and he actually landed right there, you could say, near Jerusalem. However, Dr. Khalid al-Awasi feels that they're not actually exactly the same. This is the land of Barakah, and its center is Masjid al-Aqsa, and around it is Bayt al-Maqdis. Then we have the land of Barakah, and then we have Sham all the way around here. So if you put them together now, we've got the land of Barakah. The land of Barakah, actually even some of the Mediterranean Sea falls within the land of Barakah. Even this sea is considered Mubarak according to the research of Dr. Khalid al-Awasi. The entirety of Jordan is considered a Mubarak piece of land. Even Tabuk, you could say, parts of the Arabian Peninsula also is considered Mubarak. The Sinai Peninsula is considered Mubarak. Parts of Egypt is considered Mubarak. This is the land of Barakah. Then we have Bayt al-Maqdis. So now if we zoom in to the land of Barakah, within the land of Barakah, we've got Bayt al-Maqdis. So Bayt al-Maqdis, you could say, falls within Sham. A part of the sea also is considered Bayt al-Maqdis, but this whole area is considered Bayt al-Maqdis. And you can see Jerusalem, Masjid al-Aqsa, and the walled city, the old city as we sometimes refer to it, is right there in the center, and the Barakah kind of spreads around. Bayt al-Maqdis is right there, and the Barakah is all around it. So now putting all three together, we've got Sham. This is Sham, right here, the red part. Then we've got Bayt al-Maqdis, which is that part there. And then we've got the land of Barakah. By the way, Dr. Khalid al-Awasi goes through most of the Muslim geographers, Ibn Hawqal, al-Muqaddisi, all of them. And he uses the parameters given by so many scholars. He goes through all the stories of the Quran, the stories in the Hadith, the conquests of different prophets, etc., the travels of Sulaiman, Ibrahim. And he kind of concludes that it has to be approximately these areas. So obviously we're not going to go by literally the meters here, that this is outside of Sham, and this is around this area is Sham, the red part. The green part is Bayt al-Maqdis right there, and this whole area here is the land of Barakah. All of this is Mubarak. Alright, وَالْأَرْضَ الَّتِي بَارَكْنَا فِيهَا. This is the land of Barakah. And you can see that Bayt al-Maqdis is much bigger than Jerusalem. We sometimes just think Bayt al-Maqdis is a reference to Jerusalem. Obviously we have East Jerusalem there, we have West Jerusalem there, but Bayt al-Maqdis is bigger than the entirety of Jerusalem. It spreads. Nablus would be considered part of Jerusalem. Bethlehem is considered part of Jerusalem. Ashdod is considered a part of Bayt al-Maqdis, sorry. So that is all going to be considered part of Bayt al-Maqdis. So Bayt al-Maqdis is bigger than Jerusalem. The modern day understanding is bigger than the old city as well. And Masjid al-Aqsa is the center of all of this barakah. Sham, so you could say Masjid al-Aqsa has so much blessings. It falls within a part of Bayt al-Maqdis. And Bayt al-Maqdis already has so many blessings attached to it in the ahadith and the Quran. Then it falls within the land of barakah. There are so many Quranic ayats speaking about the land of barakah. Then on top of that, it falls within Sham, and there are so many hadith mentioning the virtues of Sham as well. So Masjid al-Aqsa has virtues upon virtues. It falls, you could say, to a large degree in the center of the land of barakah, and to a large degree it's also kind of almost in the center of Sham as well, right? So this is the book that I would highly recommend, and we've reached our 10 minutes inshallah, so we will stop there, and in the next session we will have a look at how often Allah the Almighty refers to Bayt al-Maqdis and how He refers to it, and so that we understand why this land is so special. Inshallah, I hope you join me in the next session for part 3. Jazakumullahu khairah, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.